On August 25th, 2021, Maddie spoke to her friends about Ben. She thought it was time to set him free. He'd been checking her phone texts for a little too long, and now that she wanted a vacation with only her family, he was acting out, feeling excluded. Although Ben was almost half Maddie's age, Maddie often felt like his mother more than his girlfriend. She told her friends she would break up with him the next day, but she felt she owed it to him to do it live. A text message would be a little too impersonal, she thought. The following day, Maddie would go missing, and soon her family would uncover a tragic story that still haunts them today. The heartbreaking story of Maddie Durdant-Hollamby serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that can lurk within relationships, especially when there are huge power imbalances or controlling behaviors present. Maddie was 22 and full of love for those around her. Ben's decision that fateful day shocked her family, the community, and anyone reading about the case. While we must never blame the victims for the violent actions of their abusers, Maddie's case provides important lessons about recognizing warning signs in relationships and the potential consequences of ignoring them. Let's explore Maddie's story and analyze all of the red flags that emerged in her relationship with Ben Green, and see what we can do to protect ourselves from the terrifying scenarios like the one Maddie unfortunately had to experience. Maddie Durdant-Hollamby was born on April 21st, 1999 in Wimbledon, Cambridgeshire. She grew up in a loving family with her parents, Stefan and Rachel, and her younger brother, Fabian. By all accounts, Maddie was a caring, bubbly young woman who was adored by those around her. She had a passion for dance from a young age and formed close bonds with her best friends, including Abby Green, whom she met at school when she was 13. Abby had only one thing to say about Maddie: she was the kindest person she'd ever met. Isn't it completely heartbreaking that it's always the kindest people who end up in the most terrifying situations? In her kindness and love of helping others, Maddie trusted all those around her. When you're good, you don't spend your time thinking those around you have evil intentions or are capable of doing such heinous things. Sadly for Maddie, her trust proved deadly. After graduating high school, Maddie pursued her interest in marketing. She was talented and ambitious, quickly making a name for herself in the industry. At just 22, she had already secured an impressive position as a project manager at Keyline Civils. Her loved ones couldn't be prouder of her. It was clear this girl had drive, and they were sure that whatever she set out to do, she would do it. In her early 20s, Maddie dreamt of buying her own home and being fully independent. She wanted to work to secure that financial stability, but she also wanted to make sure she never forgot about having fun and spending time with her friends. Life was not all work. Maddie's life was full of promise before it was tragically cut short. Maddie was only around 20 when she met Benjamin Green, a man 19 years her senior. After graduating, she got a job at her father's company, Mass Water Management, and Ben Green was the head of the marketing department. He was also Maddie's direct superior. It was safe to say there was a big power imbalance and a huge age gap. Despite these, Maddie and Ben became a thing around Christmas 2019. Initially, the relationship was casual, which seemed to suit both parties. Maddie was young and not looking for a serious commitment, while Benjamin was divorced with 3 children and apparently not seeking to integrate Maddie into his family life. They kept their relationship relatively private, with Maddie confiding mainly in her 2 best friends. Benjamin Green was born in 1980 in Dewsbury, a 60,000 people town in Yorkshire, UK. He'd met his wife during his college years at the University of Manchester, and they ended up having 3 children together. After they got divorced, though, Ben went on a questionable path. He would date very young women, most of them 2 decades younger than him, and he would do this compulsively. Not only was he not looking for anything serious, but it seemed he was keeping a list. The more, the better. However, while this sounds immature and very uncommitted, once he grew a little closer to someone, he would become controlling, manipulative, and jealous. So which one was it? Serial dater or abusive partner? Sadly, in Maddie's case, he took things one step further. As Maddie and Ben's relationship progressed, several concerning behaviors and dynamics began to surface. After about a year together, Benjamin started pushing for more commitment from Maddie. He wanted to introduce her to his children and family, despite her reluctance to take such steps, and the more she said no, the more he wanted this to happen. Ben could not handle rejection. This desire for control was accompanied by increasing jealousy and possessiveness. Ben would check Maddie's phone whenever possible and grow upset when she received notifications or messages messages, as if Maddie had to renounce all friendships and ties to her family now that she was dating him. Ben's behavior also exhibited elements of emotional manipulation. When Maddie pulled away or maintained her independence, Benjamin would react with anger or by making her feel guilty, aka gaslighting. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which a person causes someone to question their own sanity, memories, or perception of reality. In a gaslighting situation, the manipulator attempts to sow seeds of doubt in the victim's mind, making them question their own judgment and even their grasp on reality. This can be done through denial of events, trivialization of a victim's emotions, or presenting false information. To protect oneself from gaslighting, it's crucial to trust your own perceptions and feelings. Recognize common gaslighting phrases like "you're too sensitive" or "that never happened," and be wary of people who consistently use them. Maintain strong boundaries and don't be afraid to distance yourself from individuals who make you doubt your own reality. Remember that your feelings and experiences are valid, and no one has the right to tell you otherwise. If you find yourself in a situation where gaslighting is persistent, consider seeking professional help from a therapist who can provide strategies for dealing with this form of emotional abuse and can help you rebuild your self-trust. Back to Maddie now. The pressure for cohabitation became another point of contention. Benjamin proposed buying a house together, which Maddie refused. By the way, isn't it just better to live with someone for a little while in a rented place or a family home before you go on and buy a house together? When Maddie said no, Ben then had another plan. He moved in with Maddie's parents for 6 weeks while his own house was being built, likely hoping this would bring them closer. This move can be seen as an attempt to further integrate himself into Maddie's life, potentially isolating her from her own social circles and independence. Benjamin wanted to be seen publicly with Maddie and for her to commit more fully to the relationship, which could have further limited her autonomy. The relationship was marked by emotional volatility, with frequent arguments and Benjamin being prone to tantrums and outbursts when things didn't go his way. He was, in many ways, a narcissistic child, and yet he was 2 decades older than Maddie and worked as her boss. While acting like an entitled brat, Benjamin also exploited the huge power imbalance between Maddie and him. By August 2021, Maddie was feeling increasingly suffocated in the relationship. On the evening of August 25th, she confided in her 2 best friends about her desire to end things with Benjamin. They had been fighting more and more. One of the recurrent topics was Maddie's desire to go on a trip to Jamaica with her parents, but without him. How could she not think of him? He would ask. How could she exclude him from the trip? He was also family. Well, those were Ben's thoughts. Maddie did not see him as family. On top of it all, a few nights back, they were watching Love Island when she said she found one of the contestants attractive. Ben flew off the handle. Both Maddie's besties had the same thing to say. A 41-year-old person should not be so jealous or immature. He was not the right person for Maddie. After their talk that night, Maddie made the decision to break up with Benjamin face to face, believing it was the right thing to do. On August 25th, the day before Maddie's death, the trio discussed her options, and Maddie resolved to go and see Mr. Green after work the next day to break up with him. She told the group that he wouldn't let her do it by text and that she felt she owed it to him to do it face to face. The following day at 3:35 p.m., Maddie texted her bestie group from work, "I'm so nervous." Her friends encouraged her. It would be over soon. At 5:51 p.m., she told the group to phone her in an hour if they hadn't heard from her. Maddie's hunches were right. She was not in a safe situation. 1 minute later, she sent one last text. "Love you, XX." That was the last message she ever sent. An hour later, both her besties called her and she did not pick up. They called again and again. They also left a long list of texts, and the next morning, they phoned her family. Perhaps they knew something about her whereabouts, but when Maddie's parents found out she was missing for almost 24 hours, they went into a panic. This was a serious situation. Maddie would not disappear like this, and she was always responsive on her phone. So Rachel and Stefan went to the nearest police station and reported their daughter missing. They also requested the officers do a welfare check on Ben's new house in Kettering. At around 1:30 p.m. on August 27th, they arrived knocking. No one answered. However, paired with the information that Maddie was missing and in danger, the officers decided to enter. First, they found Ben. He was lying in a pool of blood on the kitchen floor. He had marks on his arms and neck, and his jugular vein was completely severed. He was pronounced dead at the scene. In the upstairs bedroom, an officer found Maddie lying next to her phone. She had several jag marks on her body. One of the stabs had been so brutal, the blade was still stuck in the wound. She was also pronounced dead at the scene, despite many efforts from the paramedics to bring her back. Imagine learning this about your daughter from a somber officer. This was the end of the world for Rachel and Stefan, and for all those who loved Maddie and wanted her to be happy. Coroner Ann Pembler released this statement for Maddie's family. In my 27 years as coroner, I think this is the saddest case I've ever heard. I can't imagine your pain at the loss of your daughter. I am truly sorry for your loss. The coroner concluded that Maddie's heart had stopped at around 6 p.m. the previous day, just minutes after messaging her friends. Ben had attacked her as soon as she opened her mouth to end the relationship. She had no defensive wounds. In other words, she had no time to defend herself. She also had no time to use her phone and call authorities or her loved ones. She died alone, terrified, and regretting coming to this monster's home. The authorities' report was quite clear. It was a murder-suicide case. Ben's fingerprints were all over the knife that ended both his and Maddie's lives, and the injuries were all self-inflicted. But although the report was finalized, Maddie's story was just beginning to rock the community. The first angle that circulated through Northamptonshire was no one expected Benjamin Green to be a monster. His ex-wife simply said he wouldn't hurt a fly. She was in disbelief. Ben's brother Thomas said Ben is not violent. I think he would have reached out before doing something like that. It comes as a big shock. People knew him as a friendly, confident boss, ex-husband, and dad of 3. Perhaps he was a little entitled, sure, but how could a person who seemed to have it all together commit such an atrocity? Well, as we often find out in true crime cases, monsters don't have horns or red eyes, and many people give out many cries for help before they give in to their worst impulses. Let's see what they were in Maddie's case. Looking back at Maddie and Benjamin's relationship, we can identify several critical red flags that are common in controlling and potentially abusive relationships. The rapid escalation of commitment, with Benjamin pushing for increased integration into each other's lives faster than Maddie was comfortable with, was a significant warning sign. His jealousy and possessiveness manifested in his need to check Maddie's phone and monitor her communications. It's a classic sign of controlling behavior. The emotional manipulation tactics Benjamin employed when Maddie asserted her independence or made choices he disagreed with were aimed at making her feel guilty and compliant. Benjamin's attempts to isolate Maddie by pressuring her to spend more time with him and intertwine their lives more fully may have been an effort to separate her from her support system. His volatile temper, evident in the frequent arguments and tendency for emotional outbursts, was a clear warning sign of an unstable personality. Throughout the relationship, Ben consistently pushed against Maddie's clearly stated boundaries, whether about moving in together or the pace of the relationship, showing a fundamental disrespect for her autonomy. Finally, while age gaps aren't inherently problematic, in this case, it contributed to an imbalance of power and life experience that Benjamin seemed to exploit to his advantage. Maddie's story was as much a tragedy as a lesson about the importance of recognizing warning signs in relationships, especially for young people who may lack experience in navigating complex romantic dynamics. It's crucial to trust your instincts. If something feels off in a relationship, it probably is. Maddie's growing discomfort with Benjamin's behavior was valid and should be seen as a natural warning system. Respect for boundaries is a fundamental aspect of any healthy relationship. A partner who consistently pushes against or ignores your stated boundaries is demonstrating a lack of respect for your freedom. It's important to understand that jealousy is not love. Excessive jealousy and possessiveness are not signs of caring, but insecurity and a desire for control. Young people should be cautious of partners who push for quick progression in the relationship, especially if that makes them uncomfortable. Maintaining independence is crucial. It's healthy to have your own friends, interests, and goals outside of a relationship. A partner who tries to limit these is displaying controlling behavior. Also, age and power dynamics matter in relationships. It's important to be aware of how age differences or professional hierarchies might impact the power balance in a relationship. In a bad scenario, someone in a position of power can manipulate their partner into being more submissive, with threats of ending their job or promises that their older age means they know better. Emotional volatility, including frequent arguments, temper outbursts, or dramatic mood swings, can be indicators of emotional instability and potential for violence. Isolation is a common tactic of control, so be wary of partners who try to separate you from friends, family, or your support network. One of the most dangerous times in an abusive or controlling relationship is when the victim attempts to leave. Maddie's tragic fate highlights the importance of having a safety plan when ending such a relationship. It's crucial to confide in trusted people about your plans to end the relationship. Tell friends, family, a professional, and ensure someone knows your whereabouts at all times. When planning for safety, if possible, end the relationship in a public place or over the phone. Avoid being alone with a potentially volatile partner. Preparing an exit strategy is essential. Have a plan for where you'll go and how you'll get there if you need to leave quickly. Gather important documents, ensuring you have access to identification, financial information, and other crucial paperwork. Changing your routine can make it harder for an ex-partner to predict your whereabouts. Seeking professional help through DV hotlines and counselors can provide valuable guidance and support. In some cases, legal protection in the form of a restraining order may be necessary for your safety. After ending the relationship, it's advisable to block the ex-partner on all communication channels to prevent further manipulation or threats. Remember, your safety is paramount, and there is no shame in taking whatever steps are necessary to protect yourself. Maddie's story also highlights the crucial role that friends and family play in supporting individuals in potentially dangerous relationships. Maddie's friends were aware of the plans to end the relationship and had arranged to check in with her. While tragically this was not enough to prevent the worst from happening, it shows how important it is to keep strong support networks. Friends and family members should create a safe space for loved ones to share their concerns about their relationships, listening without judgment. It's important to be aware of the red flags of controlling relationships and speak up if you notice them. Offering support and letting your loved ones know you're there for them no matter what can be crucial. While you can offer advice, it's important to ultimately respect your loved one's choices about their relationship. Being prepared to help is essential. Know about local resources for DV and be ready to help your loved ones access them if needed. Staying connected is vital, especially if you're concerned about isolation tactics being used. Regular contact can provide a lifeline for someone in a controlling relationship. To prevent any more people from going through what Maddie did, we must challenge societal norms that romanticize jealousy or controlling behaviors as signs of love.
He's got a lot of money!
Now I hate you, you
Well, I hate
bastard!
you. If you leave here, I hate you.
This involves reshaping cultural narratives and media portrayals of relationships to emphasize respect, equality, and healthy communication. Organizations should have clear policies about relationships between employees, especially where power imbalances exist. This can help prevent situations like Maddie's, where a workplace dynamic added to the complexity and power imbalance of the relationship. And last but not least, funding and support for DV services and helplines is crucial. These services provide vital support and can be life-saving for individuals in dangerous situations. Strengthening legal protections for victims of domestic violence and stalking can save lives. This might involve easier access to restraining orders, stricter enforcement of existing laws, and better training for law enforcement in recognizing and responding to DV situations. Improving access to mental health services can help address underlying issues that contribute to abusive behaviors. This includes both preventative mental health care and interventions for individuals exhibiting controlling or abusive tendencies. While it's important to learn from the tragic circumstances of Maddie's death, it's equally crucial to remember her as more than a victim. Maddie Durdant-Hollamby was a kind, loving young person with a bright future ahead of her. She was loved by her family and friends, excelled in her career, and had a long list of dreams and goals. She deserved better. In her mother Rachel's words,
Maddie was incredibly generous and enjoyed nothing better than spoiling her family and friends. I feel as though our lives have been destroyed, ripped apart. I can't quite see a way forward. There is a huge hole in our lives. I want to be a family of 4 again. She was just perfect. I'm trying to keep it together for Fabian. I want the rest of his childhood to be as great as Maddie's was. I just miss her. There's a huge hole in our lives where Maddie should be. She was just perfect and loving. We want her back. We were best friends. She'll always be my best friend. My heart is broken.
by sharing Maddie's story and the lessons we can learn from it, we honor her memory and hopefully prevent similar tragedies in the future. Her life, though cut tragically short, can serve as a catalyst for change, prompting discussions about healthy relationships and the importance of recognizing and responding to warning signs of control and abuse. The The case of Maddie Durdant-Hollamby is a heartbreaking reminder of the potential dangers lurking in controlling relationships. While it's crucial to remember that the responsibility for abuse always lies with the perpetrator, recognizing red flags early can be life-saving. For young people navigating relationships, Maddie's story underscores the importance of trusting your instincts, maintaining your independence, and seeking help when something doesn't feel right. For friends and family, it highlights the crucial role of support systems in identifying and responding to potentially dangerous situations. Ultimately, preventing such tragedies requires a collective effort, from education about healthy relationships to challenging societal norms that normalize controlling behaviors and ensuring robust support systems for those at risk. We can hope to create a world where stories like Maddie's become increasingly rare, and where young people can pursue their dreams and relationships free from the shadow of control and violence. This involves not only being vigilant in our own relationships, but also being active bystanders, ready to offer support and intervention when we see warning signs in the relationships of those around us. While we cannot change the past, we can use this tragedy as a catalyst for positive change, ensuring that Maddie's memory lives on through the lives potentially saved by the lessons learned from her story. Hey, thanks a bunch for watching. What are your thoughts on this case? What can we do to protect ourselves from dangerous people? Leave a thoughtful comment below. And before you go, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you soon.